Very nice. Alhamdulillah. There we go. Alhamdulillah. Oh, I see I'm Nadir. MashaAllah alayhi. Very good. Okay. This is the agenda. We'll just briefly touch upon how we view as Muslims, how we view wealth. Okay, and we won't spend too much time on that. It's important just to preface the conversation with that. We'll talk about why we give zakat and what is the definition of zakat. Specifically, what we call money that zakat is to be paid on, and I used the word taxable and borrowed it to make it zakatable. Okay, but do not confuse zakat with tax, as we will explain and arrive at very clearly. There's completely two separate things, inshallah. But zakatable wealth is wealth that you pay zakat on, and not zakatable wealth is stuff that is excluded from zakat. Who gives zakat and who receives zakat, we'll talk about that as well. When to give zakat, we'll touch on that, and then we'll do some Q&A. Just one small little detail. I will try to be a little bit more swift with the slides because I have actually I have to go to an iftar at Banting. I expected them to start the iftar as all iftars do at like 7:30, but they're demanding I be there at like 6:45. Okay, this is high school youth are, mashallah, very, very tough. They're tougher to work with them than you, Sheikh. You're very, very flexible. They're like, no, you have to be here at this time, otherwise, you'll be in trouble. It's like, okay, sorry. So I will be a little swift with it. I'll answer some of the questions that are important, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and then we will transition to the to whatever questions I'm not able to answer. Sheikh and I will be able to field them, and after Isha, I'll be here as well. If you like to just chit chat. Okay, tonight after Isha. Okay, I wanted to start with the example of the wealthy Sahabi who is Az-Zubair ibn al-Awwam radiallahu anhu. He was one of the Ashara al-Mubashshirina bil-Jannah, one of the great 10 companions, very, very senior Sahabi in all aspects. He exceeded his contributions, and he lived a fairly long life. And it's mentioned by Imam al-Dhahabi that اقتسم مال الزبير على 40,000 When he passed away, his inheritance was about 40 million. In one narration, it says 50 million. If you were to estimate that to be a dirham, which is a silver coin, right? About 2.975 grams. That comes out to today's calculation about $50 cents per gram, to roughly $59.5 million as his inheritance, right? That's on the lower level. If you were to actually consider it to be a dinar is gold, the value jumps to close to $1 billion. And if it's a mixture of dirham and dinar, you can find it somewhere in the middle. The point is, this is a very wealthy man when he passed away. And not just someone who was seeking wealth, he was one of the top 10 companions, right? He was the Adil of the Prophet ﷺ. He was the brother-in-law of the Prophet, because his wife was Asma, and the Prophet's wife was Aisha, right? So they were brother-in-laws. They were very close. He was there at every battle. He serviced the Muslim Ummah, unlike very few people serviced the Ummah more than him. And yet, when he passed away so wealthy. This is the example that I'd like to share with you, because this is a example that allows us to understand how we view wealth. As Muslims, wealth is, نِعْمَ الْمَالُ الصَّالِحِ فِي يَدِ رَجُلٍ صَالِحٍ. Like the Prophet said, how good is money that's in the hand of a righteous man. Right? Because when it's in the hand of a righteous person, they are going to spend it on righteous causes. We are, as believers, we have money in our hand, we seek it. وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. We don't forget our share of the world, but it doesn't affect our heart. It doesn't affect our iman. It's not the thing that controls our emotions. We don't lose sleep if you lose money. Okay? This is the believer, right? And the Sahaba, they were detached from their wealth in the sense that it didn't affect them, but they had, in this case, a lot of wealth, right? So this is a beautiful example for us to strive for, and an excellent role model. I always like to start with this because sometimes this is counterintuitive. We think zuhud means just to not have a lot, right? And there were Sahaba who chose that lifestyle. Rasulullah chose that lifestyle, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But there were also Sahaba who chose to be zuhud, extremely detached from the world, while also having a lot of the world at their disposal. And that's, I think, a beautiful thing to aspire to. Investing and saving is encouraged in the deen. This is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. In some narrations, they say this is a statement of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu. Either way, the point is still valid. I lean towards that this is the statement of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, أَلَا مَنْ وَلِيَ يَتِيمًا لَهُ مَالٌ فَلْيَتَّجِرْ فِيهِ حَتَّى وَلَا يَتْرُكْهُ حَتَّى تَأْكُلَهُ الصَّدَقَةِ. The legal guardian of an orphan should invest the orphan's inheritance, lest it's consumed by zakat payments. What the Prophet ﷺ is alluding to is, if the money is sitting around year after year untouched, then every year 2.5% of it is going to get decreased. And that's not a good thing. That's being irresponsible financially. And he is telling the guardian of the orphan to be financially responsible, فَلْيَتَّجِرْ فِيهِ, to do tijara with it, to invest it. Yes? So zakat does not reduce the inheritance of the orphan. There is a difference of opinion amongst the scholars whether the orphan has to pay zakat or not. This is not the point. That the discussion is a separate discussion. The point here is that the idea is, if you have money, you don't just let it sit and decrease over time in value. It should be actively, we should try to be responsible with it, and being responsible with it, part of being responsible with it is to invest it, and then inshallah as it grows, then the zakat payments you're giving will also grow, alhamdulillah. So that's a good thing, it's a win-win for everybody. Why give zakat? If I was to ask this question, what's the answer? Purify. Excellent. It's to purify your wealth, of course, right? Someone said pillar of Islam, right? Bunya al-Islam wa ala khams. It's one of the 5 arkan of Islam, alhamdulillah. Zakat means literally to purify. So you purify your wealth. It is like the Messenger said, alayhi salam, كُلُّ امْرِئٍ فِي ظِلِّ صَدَقَتِهِ حَتَّى يُقْضَى بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. On the Day of Judgment, everybody will be in the shade of their charity. Allahu Akbar. Right? On the Day of Judgment, the day where there is no shade, right? Only shade is what Allah provides, right? And that's why there's a hadith of the 7 category of people who are shaded. The point is, shade on that day is earned through good deeds. And one of the good deeds that provides shade is sadaqah. We ask Allah to give us shade on that day. يَوْمَ لَا ظِلَّ إِلَّا ظِلُّهُ. Okay? Next is, so this I think is an obvious point. Why give zakat? We're all on the same page. But also when we give zakat, the intention should not just be you're transacting like you're buying a shawarma or something, right? It's very easy for it to be reduced to that. We should intentionally think, this is my zakat. This is my pillar that I'm fulfilling, my obligation that I'm fulfilling. This is inshallah going to be my shade on the Day of Judgment. This is purification for my wealth. We do it with intention inshallah and mindfulness, and then you will see that the process of giving zakat, not only is it enjoyable, but you will feel the barakah inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so that is the why. Now what is zakat? What is a zakat? So there is a definition here. I'm using a fiqh book that's from the Hanbali school, right? This is a Rawd al-Murbi'. This is the collection of the Hanbali texts. The Hanbalis and the Shafi'is are very similar. They're like cousins, Some say the Hanbalis are a rip-off of the Shafi'is, but that's okay. We won't hold that against them. But this is a pretty, whatever I'm sharing with you is a pretty much consensus, right? And if there is something that is only particular to like the Hanabila, I'll tell you this is actually the position of Imam Ahmad, and there's other positions as well. Okay, so the definition is pretty much agreed upon. What is the definition? It is حق واجب في مال خاص لطائفة مخصوصة في وقت مخصوص. It is the obligatory charity that is the right of the poor, needy recipients. It is due only upon specific types of wealth which have been retained for 1 lunar year, and it is due only upon the well-to-do. There's a few parts to this definition that is important to explore. Number 1, it is obligatory charity, right? This is haqqun wajib. It is, you must do it, as we explained, it's a pillar of Islam. It is, the word used in the definitions is haqq. SubhanAllah. What does the word haqq mean? Right, right? It is the right of the poor, the right of the recipient. The way we see charity is completely different than someone who is not a Muslim when they give charity. We're not trying to belittle their effort, but we're trying to highlight the difference in the mindset. The difference in the mindset is وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. What Allah says, what we have given them, they spend from it. So when we give our sadaqah or any donation, We know that money was from Allah, and now we're giving it as Allah has commanded us. Yes? And specifically for zakat, we say, haqqun wajib. This is a right of the poor. So once that money, zakat is due on it, it's now, that money is almost like not your money anymore. You must give it to the poor, the needy, or any other recipient. It becomes their right. That's how we see it. It's not like, here's money, go enjoy yourself. Here's a little bit of thing. No. We say, here is your right. Here is your right as mandated by the Sharia. You see how different that is, and how much empathy that brings, and how much, how much compassion that brings into that, into this transaction. Okay. It is due only upon specific types of wealth. This is important. Zakat is reductionist. It's only a few categories, as we will highlight. By default, everything is excluded. Only those few categories are included. That's how zakat is going to be viewed. It's only specific types of wealth. Fi malin khas. And then it is only to be given to a specific group of people, ta'ifatin makhsusa, as we will discuss as well. And well-to-do, what is the definition of that? The people who are well-to-do, we will describe that. That is the concept of nisab in Islam. Nisab is the bare minimum threshold. It should remain, your wealth should remain above that, and only then is zakat due on your wealth. Okay, let's explore a few things. What is zakatable wealth? Right, the definition is there, but let's break it down into more digestible pieces. Don't eat it yet, inshallah, you're still fasting. But we'll break it down, inshallah ta'ala. That was a bad joke, but that's all right. Complete ownership. The mal, right? They say one of the requirements or prerequisites of it is istiqraruhu. Yes, tamamul milk. You have to have full possession, full access to money. Otherwise, you don't pay zakat on it. This is important. What is owned and accessible? This applies quite significantly when we talk about assets like stock holdings and whatnot, right? Because some of it is not accessible, some of it is accessible. Okay, so that's one. Meets the nisab. Okay, milku nisab, as they say. This is the bare minimum threshold that must be attained. There's two versions of the nisab. There's a long explanation I do in like other workshops of why the nisab is the way it is. You can Google that. Like it takes 15 minutes to really explain the whole concept, because nisab is different for each asset category. But the simplified version of this, the ELDR version of it, is back in the day, 85 grams of gold was equivalent to 595 grams of silver. They were equivalent value. Okay, they were both equivalent value, and they would be called naqdain, right? The two currencies or two items you transact in, gold and silver. Okay, they were equivalent value, and if one was deficient, if someone had 80 grams of gold, they would add their equivalent silver to make their nisab whole. Okay, that's how it was back in the day. Today, there's a large discrepancy in the value of gold and the value of silver. It's massive, right? I have my brother-in-law bought silver 10 years ago. Miskeen is still waiting for it to break even. Maybe he might wait another 10 years. That's unfortunately the way the markets are right now. So the nisab today, the value here is in US dollars. Let me find the exact value for you for the nisab. The nisab today, do you know? 6,800. Allahu Akbar. Sheikh is right here. I don't need to Google. 6,800. This is the nisab of the gold. Canadian dollar, yes. I'm Yaqub. The silver nisab is going to be much lesser. It'll be like 500 or 600 bucks. In my opinion, the $600 is not a qualifier of being well-to-do, right? It's not a qualifier of wealth. If a person only has $600 left at the end of the year, we would consider them to be not wealthy. Yes, but 6,800 is a better indicator of a person's wealth. So in terms of nisab, if your wealth is above that threshold of $6,800 throughout the year, then you would pay zakat on it. If it dips below it, then you do not pay zakat on it. There's few differences of opinion on how that is, what amount should it dip under and how long should it dip under. But this is the general principle. The specifics we can answer later, inshallah. Zakatable wealth also must be what they say, ma hala alayhi al-hawl. Okay, the lunar year must pass over it. Okay, this tells you right away that zakat is something that is paid on savings, not something that's paid on income. Income is you get taxed, yes, and everybody hates it. Anybody like taxes? No one likes taxes. Allahu Akbar, right? So that is on income. Okay, zakat is what you have saved for the course of the year. There is a wisdom in there, brothers and sisters. What's the wisdom? This is a transfer of wealth from the rich to the poor. Every year like clockwork. And not transfer from, ghasban, like, you take in it and you don't like it, which is a tax. This is like, okay, no, this is money that you have excessively saved. It's sitting around. You haven't touched it. You haven't used it. That 2.5% of it, you transfer over to the poor. Okay? The Quran references this in another context. لِكَيْ لَا يَكُونَ دُولَةً بَيْنَ الْأَغْنِيَاءِ مِنْكُمْ. Lest wealth becomes something that just floats around between the wealthy of you. Right? This is the case. This is the side effect of the modern capitalist economy. Yes? The 1% owns 50% of the wealth. And it keeps rotating, right? Allahu Akbar, 10% own 90% of the wealth, right? So, want to put the mic on, Sheikh, I think, yeah. Oh, subhanAllah. So, it's that, the zakat acts as a balancing force to that kind of, greed, that kind of greed, excuse me. So, the principal general rule is that it's in possession for a year. And of course, free from haram income. If you have haram income, you should stop getting that haram income. That's the short answer. Okay, it's not, the idea isn't that, oh, there's no zakat on haram income, so let me earn haram so I don't pay zakat. To the opposite, you should stop earning haram. So inshallah your wealth is blessed, and inshallah you can pay your zakat. Haram income, like if a person has bonds, interest-bearing bonds that they're making money from, all those returns should be just given away. You shouldn't consume any of it. Okay, if your bank account is adding interest to your account, okay, you should take that and just give it away as like charity. Okay, that is what we're referring to here, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, now let's do some question and answers. Okay, tell me if zakat is due on the following asset. Ready? Is zakat due on cash? Yes or no? This was an easy one, alhamdulillah. I'm trying to get you to warm up, alhamdulillah. The answer is yes. Is zakat due on gold that is a gold bullion bars that are bought for investment purposes? Zakat due on that? Yes, that is correct. That is by the consensus of the scholars as well. Is zakat due on the house that you live in? The value of the house. What if your house is, mashallah, 1.5 million? It doesn't matter. You know zakat on it. Allahu Akbar. You live in here right now. Is zakat due on your car? There's no zakat on cars either, yeah? Very good, alhamdulillah. Okay, now imagine you have a bakery, that's your business, okay? There's a bakery, you sell baked goods, okay? Is there zakat due on the oven? The price or the cost or the value of the oven? What do you think? No, in fact, this is a fixed asset. It's not a liquid asset. It's not one of the things that you use to make money. It is, it's not a product that you sell or a service that you sell. It is a fixed illiquid asset that there is no zakat on. This is an important point. We'll come back to this in a bit, inshallah. What about the items you sell, like the bread, the dough, the flour that goes in to make your products? Is there zakat due on that? Correct. Zakat will be due on that. So you see, in the business thing, you make a distinction between illiquid, fixed assets, and products that are sold, and anything that goes into the ingredients of those products, right? There's a distinction being made between the two. No zakat on the first part, the illiquid, zakat on the products as well. I'll summarize this in a sec. This is just like a big, just to get you warmed up, but this is summarized in writing in a few slides, okay? So zakat is paid on 4 main categories. How many? 4. 4 main categories. If it's not in this category, no zakat. All right? Number 1, cattle and livestock. If you have, mashallah, 25 camels that you want to pay zakat on, ask the Sheikh or ask me afterwards, he'll tell you. I hope, probably you don't, right? Crop yield. Crops are, if you're a farmer, zakat is due on the crop. I don't think that applies to us either, okay? This is the category. Number 3 and number 4 apply to us. Number 3 is cash, gold, and silver. What is called a naqdain, yes? We have, naqdain is referring to gold and silver, but we have added cash to it because cash is the thing that you transact in, the mode of transaction. Thank you, Sheikh, right? It is the mode of transaction. Gold and silver are no longer the mode of transactions anymore. And the zakat on that is 2.5%. Okay, for every 40, you pay 1. That's where the 2.5 comes from. Okay, and lastly, what's called urud al-tijara, business commodities, which is products sold to make money. That is urud al-tijara, and this is broken down to 2 parts: current assets, short-term assets. These are liquid. This is the bread. This is the flour. This is the items that you use to manufacture the product that is being sold. Okay, 2.5%. And again, the same conditions apply. Mahala alayhi al-hawl, it's been with you for a year and it's above the nisab, etc., etc. Okay, then 2.5% of it is zakat is due on it. Fixed assets are illiquid and are exempt from zakat. So in our example, if you own a bakery, you would not pay zakat on the equipment in the store, that is the oven, but you would pay zakat on the profits from the bakery. The profits from your bread, the ingredients, the raw ingredients to manufacture, you will pay zakat on that. I hope this point, inshallah, is clear. Okay, 4 main categories of wealth zakat is paid on. The 2 that apply to us is, number 1, cash, gold and silver, yes? And number 2, business commodities. Okay, you may think, I don't have a business. Don't worry, it may apply to you, especially when it comes to the idea of stocks. Okay, all right, 2 main categories. Let's look at a few other things. What is zakat not paid on? Okay, like zakat is not paid on loans payable. If I borrowed money from someone, it's not my money. I have to return it back to that person. So zakat is not paid on the loan. Usually loans were short-term loans back in the day. Now we have amortizations over 30 years. Large loans that go on for most of a person's adult life, subhanAllah, right? So if a person was to say, oh, I owe this much money, then for 30 years, they're probably not paying any zakat, which is not a representative way. So how do we do this? We take whatever a person's long-term loan is, and we map it to a 1-year window. Okay, so whatever is their 1-year amount that they owe from that long-term loan, that is what they can say, I don't possess, and thus I won't give zakat on. Okay, let's take a simple example. Okay, if someone has $10,000 saved. Okay, I know it's towards after Asr, and maybe the math would not be so good, but if you want to pull out your calculator, I will not deduct any points, inshallah. Okay, if you have $10,000, yes, and this is money you saved, and it's been there for the whole year. What's the zakat on that 10,000? $250. Allahu Akbar. 250, right? 2.5%. Okay, now assume I have $1,000 from that 10,000 that I borrowed, right? I borrowed it from Brother Bilal. Okay, so I have how much now that I owe zakat on? 9,000, right? So I'll pay zakat on the 9,000. Okay, let's make the example where I don't have any short-term loans. Okay, I only have that 10,000, and I have a loan. Again, we don't condone interest-bearing loans, but for the example, I'm just giving you the example. A person is paying a long-term loan. Okay, I take the principal amount of that long-term loan, not the interest amount, only the principal. And again, I'm not saying that it's okay to do it. I'm just giving the example of in case a person has that, what should they do? Take the principal amount. Okay, say my principal amount is $500 a month. Okay, 500 times 12 is how much? 6,000. So of the 10,000 that I have, I will now pay zakat on how much? 4. Do I pay zakat on 4,000? It's less than the nisab. Allahu Akbar. Good job, brother. Jazakallah khair. Right? It is less than the nisab. Remember, the nisab was 6,800. Yes? So if that wealth fell below technically you're not required to give zakat. Now, if a person says, no, I will give zakat, no problem. But it's not a requirement at that point. Wallahu a'lam. Does that point clear, inshallah? Okay, very good. Let's look at other things that are not, you don't pay zakat on. Residential property, we established that. But also investment property. If a person has purchased property to rent, they don't pay zakat on that property's value. The profits from the property, if they have saved it, it will just be like any other cash. Okay? But not the value. Inaccessible wealth, money that you don't have access to. If you have a bank account in Pakistan and they froze your account because the country is about to go bankrupt. If you have a account in Lebanon and they're not allowing you to withdraw money from it, right? Your wealth is there, it's yours, but you can't access it. Subhanallah, this is a musibah. It's a very big trial. That money you won't pay zakat on until you get access to it. Pensions, for example, CPP, they take CPP from you. If you walk into the CPP office and say, give me my CPP, will they give it to you? No, right? Even when you retire, if you say, I want all of it right now, will they give it to you? No. It's whatever they judge that you are able to get based on their calculations. So that is pensions. There's no zakat on that either. Okay? Precious metals other than gold and silver, like platinum or something. Yes? Diamonds, precious stones, personal usage we're talking about. You're not talking about someone who sells diamonds. Personal usage, no zakat on that. Cars, same idea, right? You can have a very valuable car, but there's no zakat on the value of it, as long as it's for your own use or it's for use of someone else, as long as you're not selling cars. Now, should we pay zakat on investments? What do you think, people? Yes or no? And I say investments, I'm talking about investments, not property, not like something that we already excluded. We're talking about the stock market. Yes? Should we pay zakat on that? That's a good answer. The answer is, in fact, yes, we will pay zakat on it because even though we had those 4 categories, right? Stocks is not one of those 4 categories. It was not like one of the 4. It was cash, gold, silver, and business commodities. But we will say that a stock could be similar to cash, right? How so? You can sell it, get the funds, and withdraw them, right? That's like cash. Or it could be like a business commodity. It could be like urud al-tijara. Yes or no? Urud al-tijara meaning you could sell that to make money. You can buy it and then sell it later to make money. Hopefully you're making money when you're buying and selling, not losing. Right? That would be the case for most people right now. Everyone's losing money on the stock market. Allahu Akbar. One brother mentioned, I was messaging, he was like, oh, assalamu alaikum, how are you? Haven't heard from you in a long time. He's like, oh, just doing well, but man, the stock market is killing me. I was like, Allahu Akbar. This is the update I get from the brother. Not like my kids are well. Not that. The first thing is, the stock market is killing me. It's like, inshallah khair. No worries. So, it's one of those 2 things, and that is why we would pay a zakat on them. Okay, now, here is some basic guidelines of how to pay zakat on stocks and investments. Okay? If you did not voluntarily contribute to your investments, it was taken from you. Okay? And you cannot access that investment, that money is not zakatable. An example of this is what? Pension, right? CPP. Okay? Number 2, if you voluntarily contributed, the exact opposite, you put it in yourself, and it is fully accessible, you can take it all out whenever you want. The entire investment amount, you pay zakat on. What is an example of an investment account like this? Can someone think of? Not RESP, that's it. Not RESP, TFSA, that's the correct answer. The TFSA is the tax-free savings account. It's an investment bucket. You can put whatever you want in it, okay? That thing, the entirety of it is always accessible to you. And you put money in it voluntarily, okay? Sheikh, you got the mic? Oh, very good. The third principle here is if you put money voluntarily, but can access the investment partially, right? You put it in, but you can't take all of it out. Then the portion you can access and take out, you pay zakat on that. Okay? An example of that would be the RSP, right? Very good. The RSP, Registered Retired Saving, if a person has that, that would be a case, and particularly self-directed RSPs, you would deduct the withholding tax and pay zakat on whatever is remaining. And finally, of course, we have the fourth piece, which is if you voluntarily contributed, okay, but cannot access the investment, all right, then zakatable the day you can access the wealth. An example of this would be a group RRSP. Okay, an example of this could be stock options in a company that's not publicly traded. Okay, a private company, you could purchase private company shares, you work for that company, and they give you that, and then the company goes public. Allahu Akbar, you get rich. Right? That's the dream of every tech bro, right? So the day it goes public and the holdout period ends, you can sell your stock, that's the day you pay zakat. Okay? Another example of this is your RESP. Now, RESP technically is the registered education account for kids. Technically, you can withdraw all the money out of it. But in reality, no one intends to do that. When you put money in there, you're putting in there because so government can give you matching grants, right? If you put $100, the government will give you $40, right? If you take out your 100, they will take their 40 back, okay? So, I mean, the amount varies based on your income and whatnot. I'm just simplifying the example, right? So we would say that's money you can't access, because if you access it, you will lose all the grants, right? That's the reason why you were putting it there. So for RESP, and investments similar, accounts similar to RESPs, you would pay zakat the day it becomes fully accessible, right? And this is, there's quite a few opinions here, like this is a place where scholars have had disagreements, but this is the, in compliance with the International Islamic Fiqh Academy, this is their paper that they published on this topic, and this is the main guideline, right? A person could say, like, wara'an, like out of piety, I will pay zakat on money that I can't access, but I contributed to it voluntarily, like RESP. Great, no problem. If that's what you choose to do, alhamdulillah, may Allah accept from you, right? But specifically, if you want to be very particular about it, it doesn't have tamamul milk. You don't have full access to it, and the day you get full access to it should be the day you pay zakat on. I hope this is making sense, inshallah. Right? Sheikh, do you would like to add some comment or?
Jazakallah khairan. May Allah bless you. It's a beautiful presentation, and I think it's comprehensive. Let me just not clarify, but just add some of some points that might add some clarity in there. So Sheikh, mashallah, started with the story of Abdul Rahman ibn Auf and how he wealthy when he died. But do you know how he started? Subhanallah. He left everything behind, and when he went to Medina, he has no penny. And the brother that Al-Ba'asallam made mu'akha with him, and he said to him, I will share with you everything. He said, no. Just dullani ala suq. Point to me, where is the marketplace? And subhanallah, he went and he started, doing great business. And just give you one example, the Prophet asked him to buy a sheep. And he went to the marketplace, he gave him, let's say, a dirham, 1 dirham. So he came back with a sheep and a dirham. So he went and he bought 2 with that dirham. He sold one with 1 dirham and he came back. So he made 100% profit. And nowadays some people said 1/3. No, you can make any profit you want. There's no restriction in this, so just to understand that. The story, interesting story of Suhaib al-Rumi. The one they told him, either your money or yourself. What if you cannot immigrate? So he said, I'm leaving my money behind. I don't care. And Allah revealed Quran, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ. So the point of that, the Sahaba, they are not seeking the money because of the money. They are seeking it in the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed them. The hadith that Sheikh narrated that about the orphan, that you should invest in the money of the orphan, that's a great lesson from that we have to understand. That's a great rule in Sharia. الزكاة حق في المال. Zakat, it's a right on the money, regardless who's owning that money. Even somebody is not obligatory on him to pray. Like he's still a child. It's not must for him to pray, but it's must that zakah has to be taken from that money. You get the point? Even somebody insane, غير عاقل, he's not mukallaf. There's no obligation on that person. But if he has his own money, the money zakat has to be taken from that money. As long as that money, there's a chance to be liquid and to be invested. قابل للماء. Even if it was not, even was sitting there, the zakah has to be considered. Now, when the Sheikh mentioned about the niyyah, that has to be, yes, when you give it, you have to make it clear. And now if somebody given zakah, you have to put in your heart that zakah, the time that you're giving it. You cannot change your intention and you said you give money and then, let me count it as zakah. No, it doesn't work. You give a sadaqah, it goes sadaqah. So the time that you're giving it, you have to make it clear in your heart. Yes. And you don't have to tell the person. As long as you are sure that he's eligible, you don't have to tell the person. You actually sometimes better to protect the dignity of the person, so you don't have to tell this is zakah money. This is not a condition. And Sheikh mentioned about the haqq in zakah. However, there is two haqq mentioned in the Quran. There's haqq ma'loom and the other haqq. So the general right and there is a specific right, known right. The zakah, that is a specific right. Haqqun ma'loom lis-sa'il wa mahrum. The other haqq, that's a generous charity. It's not, the zakah. So basically, zakah on the saving money, the money that you save. It's not about the income. Even if you have a high income but utilized in a halal way, there is no zakah for that. Let's say I'm asking some questions. Somebody owns 5 houses. He's living in one, and the other one is not even renting them. It's empty. Is there any zakah for those houses? No. There's no zakah for those houses. Even if he has 20, 50 houses, there's no zakah for that. That is not zakatable. Houses, live in it or not. It's not for sale. It's not for business. It's not for business. Somebody has a house here, has a cottage there. He goes to every country, has another house there. Live in it or not, that's fine. As long as you are not buying those houses to escape from zakah. That's a different things. That's a different things. يُعَامَ الْمَرْءُ بِنَقِيدِ مَقْصُودِهِ. Allah will judge you, according to your intention, and we will deal with you in the way that opposite of your intention. You want to escape from zakah, you have to pay zakah. You get the point? But if somebody has a money and utilizes it in a halal way, that's fine. You want to buy diamonds, that's fine. There's no zakah for the diamonds. You are not buying it to storage it, to escape from zakah. You want to entertain yourself, enjoy the money, you can. See, there's a hikmah for that. The one the Sheikh mentioned, yes, a gold and silver, that when you have them, that will be the zakah for that. Other properties, other goods, there's no zakah for those ones. We have to understand that's not just for the wealth, there's a zakah. There's a specific, category. So this is like, generally speaking, some of the reflection what the Sheikh, mentioned. But just to summarize, the zakah, it's must, but we have to look at these 4 conditions. 4 conditions. Generally speaking, fuqaha, they talk about 2. But I would like to make it simple by adding 2 more, just to have a good idea. First, bulugh al-nisab. So the first condition, that you have the minimum amount of money, that money is saving money, it's not income, okay? That's a minimum. And you save it for 1 year, bulugh al-hawl. Al-hawl is 1 year. 1 year from, not from Ramadan like some people are doing, from accumulating that money, that amount. If that amount went down to 0 or below nisab, you will start again. We start over when you have that money. So the 2 conditions have to be together. So you have to own the minimum for a year. But then when you pay zakah, you don't pay zakah for the minimum. You pay zakah for the entire money that's in your account at the end of the year. So do not wait for every penny the year. As long as you have the main amount that's with you for a year, then you pay for the entire amount. That's the second condition. Third, al-milk al-tam, you have to have the complete ownership for the money. It might be your money, but you don't have access to it. So you don't have a complete ownership. You might have a money, but coming on a shipment on the ocean. There's no zakah for that shipment until it arrives safely. Because if it's something happen and you cannot receive it, you cannot do that. And at the same time, let's say you have a money, but that money you lend it to somebody. Is there any zakah for that one? Oh yes, there is zakah. It's your money. That's like a saving account. You give it to somebody that you trust as a loan, so you pay. Somebody has to pay for that. Not the one who received that loan, not the one who borrowed, the one he lent it, because that's your money. It's gonna come back to you. So if the money, there's a chance that will come back, then you have to pay for it, even if it stay there multiple years. However, if you have no hope that money will come back to you, there's no zakah. Except when you receive it, you pay it right away when you get it. يوم قبضه. So let's say you lent somebody 100,000, and he said, you know what? You have no money with me. That's it. I'm not going to pay you back. And you fight it, whatever. So then you receive it later on, or whatever, even half of it you receive it. Then you pay one time zakah at the time you receive it. So there's no zakah. But if that money is sitting with my friend or my family member, there is a zakah. And somebody will say, what's the benefit? As I said, that with your conscience, you give it that to that person. So you are actually doing business, but with Allah. You're investing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you know the reward of giving loan? Do you know the reward of that? Higher than giving sadaqah. The sadaqah you get the reward of it one time. Giving loan, you get the reward of it as if you donated the exact amount every day. And when you responded, that person, when he came to you and said, I cannot pay back, he said, you know what, I'm delaying you for other period of time, you will get the reward as if you're donating the double amount of that money you gifted in every day. So it's higher than the reward of sadaqah, and even at the end you are gonna get your money back. So that's why you have to consider that for the zakat. It's very important, So the third condition, you have to have the complete ownership, and that's why when the Sheikh mentioned that you have a money in an RSP, that money you have, it's yours. It's your money, yes. And do we have to pay zakah for it? No. You have to pay zakah for the portion that you can get it. So now let's say I'm gonna borrow that today. Only you deduct all the tax and other deduction from that amount because that not yours, and only you pay zakah on what that is yours. Because think of it, it's like in a bank account. It's like in a saving account. It's yours. The only downside that if you withdraw it today, there's a higher tax on it. So you deduct that higher tax and you pay only for the rest. So that the rest is yours. That's your money. So it's not only when that comes to you later on. Every year you pay that amount, the zakah for that, amount. With considering, even difference in opinion in this. So that's the third condition. The fourth condition, al-khulu min ad-dayn. You deduct your debt. Any debt that you have to pay at this time. Not like, something with your intention. No, you already agreed to make a transaction. You made a contract. You signed the papers. So the moment you sign the paper that this money has to be transferred to that person, so not yours now. So there's no zakah for that. You deduct it. Even if it's monthly, within the year of zakah. So that amount, you deduct it from your zakah. Let's say within this year I have to pay somebody 10,000. Those 10,000 you deduct it, from the capital, from the rest, and you pay only for the rest of the amount. That's the 4 conditions in order to pay zakah. Now, when I pay zakah, do I have to pay locally? Okay, that's condition, and is that must for me is as a condition. The Prophet ﷺ, when he sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal and Ali ibn Abi Talib and others to Yemen, he said to them, خُذْ مِنْ أَغْنِيَائِهِمْ زَكَاةَ أَمْوَالِهِمْ تُرَدُّ عَلَى فُقَرَائِهِمْ. Take from the rich people the zakah of their money that will be returned for their poor. So at the first option, you should think of your locality. And every person look after his locality, then there will be no poor. But if all of us, we send the money to one location, then who will take care of the other ones? That's one thing. And the other, those poor people, they have right for that money than other poor. So that's their right. And when you give to your locality, you minimize the differences between the rich and poor, and that will create kind of love and respect, because now they're kind of a mature, and sharing for the wealth. So it is highly recommend to give to your locality, and it's better not to transfer a distance over than the distance of Qasr. So that's better. However, if somebody did it, there's an urgency or not, but you give it away to any other place, does that count? That's count. Sometimes it's preferable if that would save lives. If there's kind of emergency and urgency, then it is actually should be given priority to send it abroad or to send it wherever that be needed. That's as an exception. Now, as an exception, can I pay my zakah for the coming year, this year? So can I give zakah of 2 years in 1 year? That if there is a need for that, you can do it. As Muhammad give it to Sayyidina Ibn Abbas as a permission, so you can do it if there's a need. However, at the end of the 2nd year, you should calculate to see did you give less or not. If less, then you have to tab it on to what you should pay. I think that's a wide discussion. There are many part of it. If there's any question that we can tackle it now, Bidnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we'll open the floor for you, Bidnillah.
Sheikh, I just wanted to show one more thing to the people, and then we'll take questions. And I will actually excuse myself just to get to that thought at the high school. But I just wanted to quickly show how we can calculate zakat on your investment holdings, right? So before, subhanAllah, before this year, I had about 10 slides showing how to calculate the stocks and ETFs and mutual funds, how to calculate zakat on it. MashaAllah, it was a very involved example. I don't actually think many people would take the example and apply it. Okay, people would just do the simplest option, which is sum their whole investments, all their balances, they sum it, and then they take 2.5% of it and pay zakat. They're overpaying it, but inshallah this is ihsan. This is the simplest option a lot of people choose. And then I would, after that, show people in the slides how to calculate specifically zakat on holdings one by one. But Allahu Akbar, now we have something else, which is 10 times better. You know what that is? This thing that you see on the screen. This is an app called Zoya Finance, right? It's a very excellent app, mashallah. They're doing a very good job. I don't know them personally, but I have friends who know them quite well. And they created this zakat on stocks and funds, this calculator, okay? And they explain their methodology here. I encourage you to go read it up, inshallah, if you have time. But check out how nice this is. I click on add holding and say I have stock in Apple, right? So I write down Apple and I say how many shares I have. Say I have 100 shares. And I say my intention is to hold this long term. Yes? That means I am a long-term investor. This is like a business commodity. This is like a business commodity. Remember, for the business commodity, we don't pay zakat on the oven, but we pay zakat on the bread, right? So that distinction is made even on the balance sheets of publicly traded companies. So when I add this holding, You see how it calculates the value of that share and the total value of my holding. The total value of my holding, if I have 100 shares of Apple, would be 16,520. Okay, I believe this is US dollars, I believe. Okay, now if I click on calculate, look at what it does. My presentation is falling apart because there we go. Total zakat due $20. $20. How does that work? Any ideas? They will explain to you, right? The methodology they employ is for passive holdings. If you treat it like a urud al-tijara, they will exclude from it the oven and the fixed assets of a company, right? What they will do is they will apply the zakat asset ratio. What is the zakat asset ratio? You take the total current assets of a company, divide that by the market cap of the company. And what that gives you is that gives you an approximation of how much of the company is the oven and how much of it is the bakery. How much of Apple's stock is Apple's buildings, how much of it is their departments, R&D departments, how much of it is their factories, and how much of it is the iPhones and the Macs that they sell, right? This estimation is arrived at by this calculation. Now you can go ahead and do it by yourself for each one. You can look at the balance sheet, find the total current assets, find the market cap, divide it and multiply it, or you could come into this calculator, mashallah, enter your holdings, and Allahu Akbar, off you go, right? And you can add even, look, you can even add, a ETF. So this is the Sharia compliant S&P 500 ETF. This is the one, if someone is looking to invest and they have no idea, this is what I recommend, right? Very good. They exclude all the haram companies from the top 500 companies on which exchange is it on? No, actually, it's not on one exchange. It's the top 500 companies as by Standards and Poor, right? But they exclude all the haram companies and they keep only the compliant companies. So for SPUS, if I say I have 100 shares, and again I'm long-term passive investor, its current share is about $29, and it will again calculate for me based on my holdings how much my zakat is due. $42, right? For a person who has $19,000, almost $20,000 in their account, their zakat is only $42. If you go by the asset calculation method, right, where you are treating your stocks like the bakery. You have bought a share in that bakery. If that's how you're treating your stocks, business commodity, then your zakat gets reduced that way. If you are treating it as cash, that's the simplest option that I highlighted here, then you would pay zakat on the entirety value of it. Wallahu alam. So I just wanted to show that to you all, inshallah ta'ala. And then, Sheikhana, I'm going to ask permission to leave, inshallah. But perhaps you can also, if you don't mind talking about jewelry, what is the position on jewelry, and Ahlul Zakah, who can receive zakat and who cannot. I know you touched on the local part, which is extremely important to donate to zakat to our local folks. But also, Sheikh, who is it that can get zakat? What's called Ahlul Zakat, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to just run out, but those kids are not letting me. Some questions, okay, sure. Yes. Is it the stocks that you're talking about? What investment in what? So, building housing. Okay. Sheikh, do you want to answer that question?
I think we fully understand what
Yeah.
you.
So, yeah. Yes. what I'll say, I'll defer to Sheikh and see how he's going to answer it. I'll be back at Isha time. Back and we can talk with Sheikh. Will give you the answer.
So let me repeat the question. So in order to understand, the question. So you invested. الحكم عن الشيء فرع عن تصوره. In order to give the ruling about any matter, you have to comprehend the picture of it. So I have a money, and there are builder, he's taking shares from others, okay? And those shares would be invested in that company, building houses, and all of that, something like this. So yes, you're right. It's not every year will be a profit or you accumulate something. Sometimes you receive nothing, from that. Yes, and those let's say houses not always they finish on time and they sell it. It's different ways. So now I have a money in that company. At the end of the year, they will give me a report. Yes, they said, this is your money. We utilize it, as portion of building that house. But so far we have not completed the house. We have not, sold the house. They give you a report, or we did that. We sold the house, and now your money is there. This is your profit, and your money you want to reinvest it in another house, or you want to get it. Now, yes, is that a way? So now, if they give you the report at the end of the year, so in this you don't have to deal it with the regular zakah with your howl, because I'm guessing this one by itself it's exceed the howl, exceed the nisab. So that amount you can deal with it. By the way, you didn't have to put all of your money in one pool and you give zakah in one time. There are some of that you might calculate it by itself if it's in need that care by itself. You get the point? So let's say that you are paying your zakah for other cash, for other things. But for this one, when you receive the report, the annual report, because now up to you always, you want to know how much in any time. That's why I'm saying sometimes it's good to deal with the zakah of this one separately, because its howl, it might be different from the other money howl. So going back to the point, when they give you the report, now there's a profit in there. You pay zakah for that profit. You decided to reinvest it. That will be your asset, that the fixed one. So there is no zakah for it. You want to receive the capital that your share that you share it and the profit. Then you pay zakah for the entire amount. So you pay zakah for all of it. So it's dependent on your intention. Your intention, you want to keep those money in there and those shares in there. Then you pay for what come out of it as a profit from that money. But if you want to reinvest it, that's a way. If you want to liquid it, then you pay zakah for the entire money. Yeah, so always, regardless, like there is official report or not, there is kind of estimation. So you estimate, and in the estimation, always try to be in the side of the poor person, to be in ihtiyat, in this way. Yes, unless you want to walk out from that, company or that, agreement. That then, the whole amount, you pay zakah for it. Yeah, but there's no 10% even for order tijara. What do you mean? Yeah, this, I don't know what. Yeah, they look at it like, a farm, like, a farm that it's just Bali or Marwi. It's that, they get it, water from without, watering it, or you do it, so 5% or 10%. But it's different category. Sorry, the one he said that 10%, however, I have no clue about it. There's nothing like with this. We have to, as I said, we have to visualize the matter and make it clear before, So in which category this one? It's a business. It's basically, it's like, when you talk about the share, like a stock market, I'm putting my money in there that will be invested in building. The other one, put my money there, they be invested in iPhones or other products, okay? So very similar to that. Very similar to this, there's not much, differences. Yes. Yes. Who's more eligible? First of all, the ayah suggested 8 categories. But now, out of 8, only 5 are exist that you can say. Because when you're talking about المؤلفة قلوبهم, that's only in a Muslim country that be assigned by the governor. Who are they? So it's almost not in there. Some people, they say the new Muslims. No, the new Muslims, they're not مؤلفة قلوب. They are part of us. It's just not. A riqab for the slaves. It's almost not in there. You get the point? So there are few categories that will remain in there. Now, when you handle your zakah, you have to be careful. You do all your possible way to make sure that person is one of the recipient. One of those people are eligible for that zakah. And let's say you did your best, and somehow you thought he is, but he was not. Then you don't have to worry about this, because you did your best. Even if that was the person who received it, he was rich, but that you thought that he is in need, so you give it to him. That's waqa'at zakah. You don't have to repeat it again, as mentioned in one hadith. Okay. And the Prophet ﷺ said you have to choose where you place your zakah, as you will choose when you get married, like where you find تخيروا صدقاتكم كما تخيروا لنطفكم. Do not just go and marry anyone. At the same time, when you go for your zakah, don't give it to anybody. And when you hit more than one bird with one stone, that will be great. So if you benefit and you fulfill multiple rights with one zakah, it's better. So when you give your zakah to a Muslim neighbor, relative, need, he's the same person, but he's a relative, and he's in need, and he's a neighbor. So you fulfill the right of Islam, the right of qaraba, the right of neighborhood with one thing. So always try to find all of that. And it's always better to give your sadaqah to the one who's hidden, the one nobody knows about, because you dig for that, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, للفقراء الذين أحصروا في سبيل الله لا يستطيعون ضربا في الأرض يحسبهم الجاهل أغنياء من التعفف. So you should search for those ones. So when you fulfill the need of the person and you make him satisfied, you will be more rewarded for that. Now, giving it for the relatives, yes, you can give to any of your relative with condition. One condition, that is not among the relative that you must to pay zakah for them. So you cannot give it to your father, your mother. You cannot give it to your son or your daughter. You cannot. They live with you or not. You cannot give it. That first. Any person that it must for you to sponsor, to spend on, you cannot give it to that person. You cannot give it to the person that lives with you. So let's say somebody, he's not even your relative, or somebody's not must for you to spend on that person, but he lives with you. You give it the zakah for that person? No. Why? Because indirectly you're going to eat from your zakah. You're going to get benefit on the return from your zakah. So as if you had not given it, as if you give it from one hand and you take it from the other hand. So you cannot give it for that. So let's say, like, somebody is not living with you and he's in need and he's your relative. Yes, of course, that's better to give to that person. So it's the point that the person you are not share with you your meals, you're not like, the person that, mix, the income is a mix because it's what around, comes back to you. It's like a way of cheating, in this way. كَيْ لَا يَكُونَ دُولَةً بَيْنَ الْأَغْنِيَاءِ مِنْكُمْ. You give it in order that it will stay with you. This is not, the right way. Yes, please. We have half an hour, yeah? They're there. We'll finish at 7. Yeah. So we will have time only at 8 minutes until 7 because I have to go to the St. Thomas. They will help them for their fundraising. Yes, inshallah. Yes, brother. I try to make the answer short so we accommodate everybody. Yes, go ahead. Yes, any person that's in need, that he's suffering for his necessities of life, you can give it to that person. Nowadays, the education, where even the university level or college level became necessity, because without proper education, you cannot have a proper work, you cannot start a family. So nowadays, high school of not be the main ones, But if he's doing it a higher education, like a grad, whatever, like master or above, that's not the case because that's not out of necessity. Yes, brother. That's fine if it goes up and down as long as not went below the nisab. So as long maintaining the nisab, you don't have to worry what's give up and down. So it has to be the minimum maintained for a year. So let's say you maintain it only for 11 months. And then with the innocent intention and with the need, utilize that money with haqq for your expenses. Then you start over. Then there is no zakah for you. That has to be the entire year, entire lunar year. Okay? Where the difference is that 11 days in between the two types. You don't have to keep it, unless it's happened that you kept it, for that way. But if somebody utilized that money in a halal way, that would be fine. So the two conditions has to be together. You keep the minimum for a year. Yes. But then when you keep a minimum for a year, do not wait for every penny the year. Then you pay the zakah for whatever accumulated in your account. So let's say I started the year with 10,000 and went up and down, but never went below 6,800 as we determined the nisab. But at the end of the year, it became 20,000. Then I have to pay the zakah for the 20,000, not for the 10,000 that I started the year with. Okay? That will answer the question. Okay, yeah. So do you pay zakah for what ended the year, not when it started with? No, because hawlu aslihi. Do not wait for every penny the year, as long as the minimum that you wait for it a year. You get the point? So do not wait. Now, to make it that, as you mentioned, you could do that, by the way, but it's almost impossible to do that for every penny you wait a year. It's almost impossible to do this. And some people, they will make it actually easier for them. So every month, let's say they pay zakah. They know they're going to pay zakah at the end of the year, but every month, let's say they help with somebody for the rent or they will do something. So every check that comes to them, they deduct the amount, they give it for zakah. That is fine as well, and that will make it much easier because at the end of the year, you might, when you calculate, you find yourself already paid, your zakah. Yes. That's fine. There's no zakah for if you forgive that person, and then this is charity, there's no zakah. But do not change your intention. If you change your intention, then we'll go back to those that's different things. Yes. No. No, it has to be not about the amount. It's the other condition. You have to have it and save it for a year. Al-hawl has to be there. Okay. And there's another point here. It's very important. A lot of people, they want to get the benefit of Ramadan and giving their zakah. To be honest, it's better to keep your hawl without shifting the hawl. You could shift the hawl if it's nearby. So you know what? My due of zakah, it's Shawwal, but I want to make it earlier in Ramadan. You could do that. Okay. ما قرب الشيء أعطي حكمه. But it's better not to do, because we want people to give their zakah throughout the year, because there's a need for people to receive the zakah throughout the year. You satisfy them in Ramadan, but then what are they going to do in the other months that's beside this? Yes. Yes. I think so. But I pay zakah in this case the moment that I receive the money. I don't wait. Yeah, I don't wait for the hawl in this. So let's say there's an example of a person has a land or farm. Is any zakah for that or not? We cannot say yes or no. They have to ask the person a question. What's your intention? So if your land that's just to build a house or you're to cultivate, there is no zakah for that land. Now, somebody will say, well, no, I bought the land, I'm waiting for the market. When a good time and a good buyer, I will sell it. Then there's no zakah except the time that I will sell that zakah, that land, I will pay zakah one time. Now, let's say I bought it in the market. Now I'm just waiting between myself. I bought in the market, I put a sign, I ask an agent to sell it for me. Even that was not sold for 10 years, I have to pay zakah for that in every year. So there are three different situations, not only one situation. So it's dependent on the intention. So that person that will, investing, that we have to ask that person, what's the intention? Yes. That's correct. It's the same. It's the same, but did I now a house, I put it in the market? For the market, it became by itself like goods. It's a product. It's not just a house, it's a product. The money is there in a form of house. If I put in the market. But if I have not put in the market, I'm okay, I'm free. I don't have to pay zakah. Even if I change my intention. You get the point? So there are differences in there. Let's say now a lady she has gold for her to wear. Now, as we know, the majority of scholars, they said there's no zakah except Imam Abu Hanifa. And I'm not going to now go in details about this. So, but now let's say she changed her intention. She's not that gold for her to wear. The gold that her, for business, for trade. The moment that she changed her intention, there will be different way to treat it. Then there's a zakah for that amount. So regardless it's a gold or a car or a house, what's my intention in that? I'm looking at as something that to own or something that potential to sell, or it's a product actually in the market. So if there's something potential that to sell, there's no zakah until I sell it. But if something that already in the market, then it's something that I have to look at as a liquid, as money. Okay. So I think this need to be a follow-up session. Maybe how about this? We started inshallah Sunnah Hasana. We're gonna have a family night once a month. So maybe one of those nights we make it receive your even a question in advance, put it that even in a presentation, then we present that. You know, that will be more beneficial in this. And also in that session, we'll share with you the masjid policy about the zakah, how you read that, so you're sure about it, how your zakah will be handled in a good way. So what's the policy in this? That then 2-in-1, so you'll be aware of that. So that might you consider, this is maybe, you know what, this is better than what I would do, because it's being utilized in very professional way. They handled by, price people, they know what they are doing. So might, that, in the future, you will build more trust in this and be more clear. So inshallah, we'll consider to bring this topic again, because there are many areas, gray areas, many areas of debate and between scholars. We need, to talk about that, and make it more practical. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purify our heart and our money and our life. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant the best for us in this life and hereafter. Ameen. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.